You said that you were the light of the world, and that in you there was no darkness at all. You said you were living water and that you would satisfy the longings of our soul. You said you were the true vine, the true Israel, the redemption of the world. But you are a liar, and you're dead. These are the words that Mary Magdalene and her friends thought to themselves as they walked at dawn to the tomb where Jesus' body was laid. And they walked there, and I'm not sure what they were looking for. Maybe they just wanted to go there and see if it was all a dream. If they would get there and there would be no body in the tomb, if it was all just fake and it had been a nightmare. But realistically, they went to mourn. They went to mourn their friend, but most of all, they went to mourn the dismantling and destruction of their dreams and all of their hopes and longings. And so as they approach the tomb, they come with all this baggage and this sadness and this shame. And they come, and of course they should have known it was coming, right? It happens all the time. The tomb had been rolled open, and the only likely scenario was that the body had been stolen and everything in there with it. So like chaos upon chaos, despair upon despair, like salt in the wound, Mary Magdalene and her friends had to come to grips with the fact that Jesus' body was gone. So they did the only thing that made sense. They turn and they run back to the only two people they knew they could trust. She gets to the house where John and Peter were staying, and she knocks on the door, and then they open it up. She looks them in the eyes and says, "His body is missing. Will you follow him one more time?" And immediately, they get on their clothes and they run out the door to the tomb of Jesus. And they get there, and of course, John in his old age looks back and pokes fun at his friend Peter and says how much faster he was because he gets to the tomb first. And he stands on the precipice. He doesn't go straight in. He stands on the precipice of all of his dreams and everything that had been torn away from him with the death of Jesus, and he looks in and he doesn't enter. He smells the decay of flesh stuck to the cloths that had covered the body of Jesus, and he stifles the vomit in his throat, and he stares in and he waits. And in that moment, Peter, acting like himself, rushes past John, pushes him to the side, and goes in. And for the first time, the sun rises and they can see clearly in the tomb, and they see something that isn't what they thought it would be. Jesus' body was missing, but it didn't look like tomb raiders had been there. No one stole the body. You see, the cloths were still there. No one would take the body or the cloths off a body and put the naked, decaying body on their back or shoulders. And they wouldn't leave all the gifts that had been laying there as well, all the trinkets and treasures. And so stand there in the midst of the empty tomb, and they're confused. And it's crazy because what John 20 says is that they look at all of the signs, and it says they believed, that John believed. But then right after it says, but they didn't know about the resurrection of the dead. You see, I don't know what that means, but I'm guessing it is, in that moment, the new creation had broken into the world. And like butterflies, when you're going down a roller coaster, it had risen up and was crying out, "Christ is risen." But they didn't know. So they walk back to their homes and go back to their ordinary life and prepare to tell their family and friends how they had just wasted the last 3 years of their life and that they're sorry they abandoned their family. And it begs the question, what do you do when you're walking to the tomb of the Christ with Mary and with Paul, or with Peter and with John? What do you do? What do you do when one of the best friends in your world comes down with cancer? What do you do when Jesus promises to be the light of the world, yet we can just read the news and see all the death and decay and destruction? What do you do when he promises to be the satisfaction of your soul, and you're discontent, and you're dissatisfied, and you feel empty and numb to it all? what do you do? What do you do when he promises to fill you with the Holy Spirit and allow you to walk in his ways, yet you're stuck in the depths of sin? What do you do? You see, here's the thing. John doesn't offer us a process. He offers us a person and a promise. You see, we worship a God that defies our expectations. See, Peter and John and Mary walked to the tomb expecting a corpse, and they didn't realize that they would soon encounter the risen Messiah. We want God to be the light of the world, and we don't realize and we forget that he's bringing a new creation, that he's making all things new, and that while death has reigned now, there will be a new king soon enough. We worship a God that defies our expectations. Put your trust in him. Thank you.